If you like today's content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you very much.
So he went for a walk, and it was funny because I was upstairs and I heard the door open and I went downstairs, but he wasn't there. And I was like, it's weird. And I went back to bed. And then he came running in like 10 minutes later, and he had seen something that he couldn't quite explain or understand.
Yeah, I have some serious coffee right here. Actually,
Good.
Switch up my view. There we go. This is my new lifeline. It keeps coffee warm all day, and I can brew really strong hazelnut flavor coffee.
Sometimes those are deceiving though, because they'll like smell so good, but then just taste like coffee. And even though it's good coffee, you want it to taste like hazelnut.
Exactly. No, and this doesn't taste like a chemical, artificial ingredient. Although
it sounds like you hit the jackpot.
I did, but I still think it might be artificial flavored. but it's
look
really
into
good.
It.
Yeah. Cheers officially to coffee and UFOs. Hello.
Hey, cheers.
Everyone, this is Lisette Xavier. She's our guest tonight, and she is what's your relationship with Michael from September 08?
He is my man friend, and he has been my man friend for 13 years.
Okay, perfect.
But he upgraded from boyfriend because he's a man.
Right. And to be clear, she's not identified or given any meaning by her relationship to him. I'm just introducing that because so many people out there know September and know Michael 8. You're very much your own person. You're very much your own artist.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the fact that I'm even saying that is probably ridiculous, but I think it's reflective of our times, and I kind of have to make that clear.
I think it's kind of cool that we come across very few artists that are in relationships that don't perform together. So it tends to be a topic of interest out of curiosity.
Yeah, but you know what? It always bothers me when I hear it was Joni Mitchell. I heard the comparison once that she's the female harmonica playing folk singer from the 60s. Oh my God.
I'm going to get it wrong. I'm the worst with names. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Because it has a D in his name. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm dropping this name right now.
We'll just interject it later.
Yeah.
Pretend we remember it.
Yeah. Anyway, the point was her identity was dependent, or her public's identity, right? The image that was projected by others was dependent upon her being compared to another artist, in that case, a man. And it always bothers me when people do that. So what we'll do is at the end of this Coffee and UFO episode, we will play a sample of your song, Hot Mess.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. So everyone listening, stay to the end because it's a hot mess. You'll like it.
It really is.
No, it's great. It's a great song. All right.
Thank you.
It's actually been featured on Paranormal Now as bumper music in the past. So some of you might be actually familiar with it. So we'll go to the first question.
Okay.
Have you seen a UFO?
I've not, but apparently I missed my chance 2 nights ago. So it was Mike goes for walks every night. If anyone is familiar with him, he is obsessed with the sky and all things in it. Mm-hmm. So he went for a walk, and it was funny because I was upstairs and I heard the door open and I went downstairs, but he wasn't there. And I was like, it's weird. And I went back to bed. And then he came running in 10 minutes later, and he had seen something that he couldn't quite explain or understand.
Okay.
And I was like, I remember thinking to myself, that was my chance. That was it.
So you were like, close.
I was so close. And he's like, I came back for you and I couldn't find you. And I was like, oh shoot. But yeah, I don't know. It's, I also feel like all of that whole subject of paranormal makes me so, I don't know, nervous is the right word, but I get scared very easily. And so there's not a lot of opportunity, I guess. Because if I'm looking, I'm always trying to understand. If I see something that I don't understand, I'll try and look it up and justify it. So there's rare opportunities where I see something where I'm like, I don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. And also I'm always the driver. So if we're out somewhere, a lot of times people in my family will be like, did you see that? And I'm like, no, I was keeping us alive.
Thank goodness.
So I feel like I need to take more time.
In the movies, when people are having conversation when they're driving. And they
Mm-hmm.
look to the other person, and I'm like counting the seconds in my head. I'm like, this is not good. They're going to get into an
Yeah.
accident any
You're
second.
like, this
Yeah,
turns into an action shot very quickly.
very quickly.
Yeah. But no,
Oh,
I haven't seen
Bob
anything
Dylan. Bob
exciting.
Dylan. That's who Joni Mitchell was often compared to, the female Bob Dylan. Anyway, so go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was picturing someone else. Was it Bob Dylan?
I think they compared her to Bob Dylan. Yeah, but I
That makes
remember
sense.
that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No,
But
you're probably right. You're probably right.
so you don't put yourself out there to purposely find something.
I would say that I actively avoid situations where I think something paranormal might happen. We've talked about
Yeah.
traveling. Mike really wants to hit like hotspots
Mm-hmm.
of different activity. And he's always like, yeah, we go to this place and then you can stay back and I'll go on this tour. And I'm like, cool, that works for me just fine. So I will actively avoid those situations. And I think it's a lack of understanding because we fear what we don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not brave by nature, I guess. So when I don't know something, I'm like, I don't know. I'm scared.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I would make this assumption, because even if Michael were to say that he doesn't like physically go out looking for the paranormal, he's kind of bringing that to him in his conversations online and through his music.
Oh yeah.
Whenever I feel it, well, some people feel that way. I don't know if I necessarily believe it, but sometimes people feel that if you discuss a topic, you're sort of attracting that thing to happen to you. Do you think that's true?
I am a huge believer in the law of attraction just based on my own personal experiences, which is probably the extent of paranormal, if you could even like clump that in there,
Mm-hmm.
of like the unexplained. And it's just like my own experiences. I've had too many instances where something completely random that I was obsessing about becomes a reality in such a short window.
Yeah.
And this is a conversation we have a lot. Because when he ran in the other night, he was like, you won't believe what just happened. And I was like, if you got abducted, we're done. Because that means it's going to happen again. And no, I'm out. I draw the line at abductions, man.
Yeah.
Too scary. It gets too real for me. But no, I definitely think that. And I think it's going to be less of Mike closing himself off to that and more of me just opening myself up to that because I don't really have a choice.
What would you do if you did see a close encounter UFO? Would you signal to it? How do you think you would react?
Oh man, I would observe from a distance.
So maybe run away a little bit, get some space.
Yeah, I would probably be very curious to watch from like a safe distance, but I don't think I'd try and make first contact.
Yeah.
I think I'd save that for Mike. I'd be out, but there's no doubt in my mind that these things are happening and that they're very real experiences, but I hope that they just keep happening to people that are ready for it. And I don't know that I am.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anyone really ever is.
That's a good point.
Granted, now if you're out there chasing a cryptid or Bigfoot, then maybe you kind of are, because you're spending so much time thinking about it. You think you know what to expect, but that's the whole thing with paranormal, is that you don't really know what's coming around the bend,
right?
Or how it's going to play out. But you are a creative person, and in my experience, most creative people have had some odd experience, whether it was through psychedelics or whether it was through dreams or whether it was out of body experience. Have you had anything that was like sort of mind shifting for you happen?
Not in any of those contexts. Again, like I align with the law of attraction, like that's kind of just truth for me. And I've had a lot of instances in my life where I'll just kind of go with my gut feeling. Yeah. And things will align in a way that really couldn't have been predicted. And that's very normal for me. So but I'm very distant from connecting really strongly to it. Okay. Or trying to like harness whatever that is. I just kind of I'm like, I'm just going to trust my gut because it's always right. Like my funniest, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say like the funniest example is we were buying a TV And we were in line to buy this TV, and we asked questions for like an hour. And we were next in line, and I was just like, nope, we cannot buy this. This is a terrible idea. We need to leave immediately. And Mike's just like, and my dad was there, and they were both like, we've been here for so long. I'm like, I don't care. We need to leave like right now.
Yeah.
We cannot buy this TV. And they were just so annoyed at this point that they just left, and they were angry with me. And the next day I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to that TV. And I went, and it was 70% off. And then it was just this really funny thing. And I was like, look, the TV we almost bought is 70% off now. I'm so glad we didn't buy it. And Mike's just like, how did you know that? I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't matter though. We got a cheap TV. It's great.
It doesn't matter. Exactly. I mean, I was expecting you to say that the TV blew up or something, and you saved his lives.
No,
but the universe, right? If you believe in that, these things are not necessarily I don't think necessarily with a purpose per se. You just had an intuition, and I've learned through my own relationship to trust the other person's intuition more than mine.
That's fair.
I think that some people have it innately built into I'm getting a look right now. some people have it built into their who you are as a person. And so if I have, let's say, like a tapping into the extraordinary, to me it's like this a moment, right? And so it was this psychedelic moment, or it was this crazy out of body experience, whatever it might be. It felt more shifting because it's not necessarily built into my everyday being, whereas someone like you, it's just more of like a subtle awareness because it's constant. It's kind of with you when you need it, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I only know my own perspective of it, but like I don't even drink. There's so few musicians. I'll go out and I'm like, I just have some water or tea. I'm cool.
Yeah. I don't drink either. So
it's funny because I talk to people that have these moments that are very shifting, and I think that they're very monumental in everyone's journey, whatever those are. But those moments usually happen really organically in my experience. And it has very much just been like, I would just describe it as like a knowing, when you just kind of know something without being able to prove why or how. And then you just kind of follow that vibe and end up exactly where you didn't even know you were headed. So
that's great.
But if I look too much into it, it scares me. So I don't think too much about it.
Yeah, but
Mike always laughs, and he's like, it makes so much sense that I ended up with an alien. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I don't like it, so don't say that. But yeah.
Well, that brings up a whole nother subject, because I love talking about, because as time goes on, we learn that we're not just Homo sapiens sapiens. We've got a little bit of Neanderthal mixed in us. We've got a little bit of Denisovan. All our distant hominid ancestors, a little bit of that DNA from those other ancestors are in there. And it kind of makes me wonder, did they have any special abilities maybe that could be subtly passed down through genes that isn't common in our species, but maybe was in theirs? And some of us have that gene living within us. I don't know.
It's interesting because even when you hear about like these cultures that existed and are no longer here, places like even like Atlantis or, and it never occurs to me that it's fiction. I'm just like, how did we lose it? Like, what was the point? Like, were they human? Were they not human? Did they possess like what kind of energies? And yeah, I think about that a lot too, of like, what's the lineage of that and what does it look like as it passes down? And when we look at different things in society, even things that are happening right now in different demographics, and it's like, how much of this is nature and how much of this is evolution and all of these changes that a lot of people are always resistant to, it seems like. I'm like, I wonder, like, why aren't we just trusting nature? Like, she kind of knows what to do, doesn't she?
Yeah. And it's so funny because we talk about metaphysical aspects of life, which is considered a little bit more out there. But as we learn more about science, our understanding of who we are is expanded. And like for instance, there's a series on Netflix now called Sex.
Okay.
And in this one particular episode, they're not talking. They're talking about gender and sexuality for the most part, but they're not talking specifically about being homosexual. What
Mm,
they're are explaining is what happens in a woman's womb chemically. That is
mm,
100% natural.
right.
And I forget the name of the hormone or chemical that um, uh, goes into the placenta during this period. Um, but when when it hits a certain level, then
Hmm.
it seems that those people become gay
Hmm.
or have same-sex attraction. Their brain
Yeah.
develops differently, and so it's not a mutation. It's nothing like supernatural.
Right.
It's just natural. But when you first, if you're ignorant of that, you don't know you don't know anything, right? You just either you
Yeah.
accept people out of love in your heart, um, or you don't. And at least now science is like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you believe in
Yeah.
that or not.
Your
This is just
bias is irrelevant to
your bias
fact.
is irrelevant, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's so interesting to me that science often tackles these like spiritual and religious arguments.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess where I was kind of going with that was like, w- w- for you, what is your sort of spiritual or metaphysical influence on how you see other people and your relationship with the world and the arts?
Oh man, that's a big question. I think
Mhm.
so. I think the only thing that I know for sure is that I know nothing,
Okay,
and
me
that's
too.
just kind of that's how I go through all of it. Like
Hmm.
even law of attraction, right? Like there'll be instances, and I'm like, well, is it? Like
Yeah.
sure, it's been true all the time, but I can't hold it. I can't touch it. I can't prove it um, in a way that I can prove gravity. So I even question that belief, which is probably my strongest belief. And that, I don't know, I guess it kind of gives you a different place to go from, because I was raised by a very religious family. My family all immigrated from Portugal and Chile,
Hmm.
which are like super hyper Catholic places. And so I grew up with this very strong doctrine around me. And once I started to kind of question things and look at the world from different perspectives, which was something I just always did pretty naturally, I just kind of started to kind of pave my own way. And once I realized that I can't know anything, all I can do is follow what feels right to me and what makes me kind of like reach my potential.
Sure.
And the notion that what what brings me joy now isn't what brought me joy when I was 10 or
Hmm.
when I was 15, just kind of shows how people are so diverse. Even one person, right, can go through so many transformations and have so many different truths. Because when I identified as a Catholic, that was true for me, and I needed that at that time. And my beliefs changed and the way I view things changed. And now what I believe is just as true as it was when I was 10. So how could I look at anyone and be like, that's not true? Doesn't
Yeah.
make sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the world would just be a better place if everyone kind of had the space to be like, this feels true to me.
Hmm.
So this is I'm going to do me. And then everyone was like, cool, do you. As long as you're not hurting others, there's
Yeah.
really I have no issues with anything. And yeah, I can't imagine ever looking at someone providing, I mean, within reason, right?
Sure.
Um, and being like, oh, that's so wrong. It's just like, cool. Like, I love that that's true for you. How interesting. And yeah, hopefully I'll keep playing and evolving. And I love reading and just kind of like discovering new concepts all the time and
Hmm.
questioning everything I believe. And when it comes to paranormal, especially, I think it all just comes down to things we haven't proven yet. Right. Because even in
Sure.
the science community, like you look at someone like Tesla, right? Like now everyone's like, man, Tesla really had it figured out. But at the time he was ostracized. And, there's so many academics even now that won't speak out against certain or speak about certain topics because they don't want to, be completely disregarded. And until we kind of have that freedom in the same way, right? To be like, okay, what feels good? Go look into it, discover it. Let's see. right? But it's, I don't know, there's this quote and I'm going to get it wrong, but it's something like, certainty is, certainty is the opposite of growth, because it's kind of like once you know something, you stop looking. And I think that if people can just in general always be open to looking, then it's probably just going to be good.
Yeah. Well, there's comfort in knowing.
There's comfort. I'm very uncomfortable a lot of the time. That's true.
I feel your pain.
I'm like, I don't know. It's exhausting.
Yeah. No, it can be, and that's why I end the Paranormal Now show with "Live in the Mystery," because I think that I've finally gotten to a place where I was always sort of desperately seeking purpose or reasons,
Yeah.
And now I'm like 95%, 90% there, like embracing, just accepting that I don't know the answer to things, and just enjoying the actual questioning and the journey. Right. And I take the time to think about the fact that I'll probably die with like the most important questions not answered,
Not answered. I know. Right. That's the worst part. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And I'm like,
I think that a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to keep getting older and just to have like, near death anxiety, like, because I don't have the answer. So still working on it a little bit, but much, much better. And it's funny what, like you said about that certainty thing, because I think when you're in your like earlier 20s, like you're really certain about a lot of stuff. And and not that you're not exploring at the same time, but like I would be certain about something for 6 months and then it would change. And then I'd be certain about something for, and then as I got older, the urgency to have an answer for something is just like little by little gone away, and it's given me more peace. I think that's why a lot of people say your 30s are some of your best years, because you start just kind of like calming down about certain things, and you're like, why am I obsessing over this?
Right.
It's not doing me any good. I don't know if you've been down that road before, but
I feel like a lot of it too is like when you're a child and a teenager, more often than not, I think you're really treated like a second-class citizen in a lot of ways. Like parents can be very, like a dictatorship, right? There's no collaboration. There's no, you do as you're told and this is it. And, if you look at the way children eat or things they believe in, where they go to school, it's all chosen by their parents, right? Which is good. But it's still, no child comes out and he's like, you know what, actually, I think that I'm going to try, like they don't get to make those choices most of the time. So when you get to your 20s, usually that's when you're first moving out, right? High school's finished and you get to choose for the first time. Right. So it makes sense to me that you kind of like go from one extreme to the other, where you're just like, I'm in control and this is what I believe and I've chosen it and then, in 6 months, hopefully you're willing to be like, I changed my mind. Whereas a lot of people maybe even don't. But I do see that a lot. I definitely feel like that was true for me, but I had a little bit more freedom in my teens. So I think for me that started just a little earlier.
Right. Okay.
So I was probably about 13 when I started to have probably just a lot more freedom than a lot of other 13-year-olds had. And then I was just kind of able to start that journey. But I mean, it not even like it gave me a head start, because then I spent 10 years just being like, I don't know the answer. And that terrified me. Sure. And it actually gave me more anxiety because, when I identified as a Catholic, there was a real comfort in knowing the answers. And especially when it came to death, especially because my mom died when I was very young. So I knew she was in heaven. And when I gave up Catholicism as an ideology in a big way, I gave up my mother. And so I kind of stayed in that world for like 10 years of just like, I don't, if I don't believe in heaven, then she's gone.
I've never thought about that way. That's
it was
heavy.
It sucked. It wasn't great, but you can't.
It's almost like going through the grieving process again.
I would agree. That's what it felt like. It wasn't, I'm laughing now, but I mean, it wasn't, you know, that's another reason why you can't, or I can't look at someone and judge their journey, because you don't know what factors are there.
Yeah.
Right. Like I look at my grandmother, who was raised on these secluded islands in Portugal. And her faith is so important to her, especially because, I mean, now she's lost 3 children, including my mother. And I imagine as a parent, how important that would be, you know, like that probably is her anchor in almost everything. So, you know, everyone comes from life from different angles. And I think truth is really subjective.
Yeah. So,
you know, whether or not you understand something, I don't think that can impact its validity, especially to someone else's experience. So every time Mike goes off about all the things he goes off on, I'm like, that can be true for you, but I'm not ready for it to be true for me.
Yeah, totally. And being able to, I mean, that's part of relationships too. I mean, being able to sort of be secure in your own space. Because I mean, you want to be a partner with your partner, but at the same time, because you want to be sort of like one in a way, but you've got to be able to hold on to like your own faculties, and it's okay to challenge each other too. I mean, that's
totally
really important.
I know for us, it's I think we started kind of thriving as a couple when we stopped trying to be this unit. And we were just like, you know what, I'm going to be happy and you be happy, and we'll just share space.
But what if one of you is not happy? Can the other one be happy at the same time?
Yeah, totally.
That's tricky. That can be tricky.
Yeah, I think happiness is a choice, right?
I agree. Yeah.
So, and I won't say that we've like mastered this, but there's a lot of times where, you know, Mike will be super stressed, for example, and I used to take that on. But now I'm like, okay, if you need me, let me know what I can do for you, because I'd love to help you, but I'm going to give myself some space because I can't take this on.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'm feeling stronger and I'm like on top of things and I'm like, yeah, unload on me. I can take it. But it's my job to assess whether or not I'm in a place where how I can help. Right.
Sure.
And I think for a long time, we would try to help each other, even if we didn't have it in us. Like if I'm burnt out and he's burnt out and then he unloads on me, I'm really not going to help him. I'm just going to get more stressed because now I'm worried about all of his problems. So I've gotten better, and I think he's gotten better at being like, okay, I'm going to give you some space because I can't take it on. But if there's like something that you need tangible that I can do for you, I'll absolutely do it. I'm here, delegate. But it is a fine line.
That's great that you can do that. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes.
We ain't perfect here.
Sometimes it's just theory.
Sometimes it is theory. I talk a lot of theory.
Yeah, I'm like, remember that time we said we would do that thing? We didn't do it. Yeah, our bad.
Well, talk about life experiences. I'm going to play a little bit of Lisette's song, her single Hot Mess. So you can find this on iTunes or any other downloadable app. And so listen, everyone, please listen to this. It's a fantastic song, and then we'll comment on it a little bit afterwards. But I do have to go soon because my live show is at 8:00. So.
I've been lost in the right direction. Let go to get connection. I'm a mess, but a hot mess. Perfectly fucked up with imperfection. I'm a mess, but a hot mess. Learning to love all my indiscretions. I've been going and I don't wanna be found. Go on and I don't wanna be found. I live for the night. To walk tomorrow. To walk the day. Gonna live on the light. So here's to all the risks we'll take. We're
love that chorus. I love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, it's so
such
much fun
it's
to
such a
sing.
great build, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
And it kills me, like, and other friends of mine. It seems to happen where someone writes music, and I'm listening to the radio, and I'm like, why isn't this person's song like on the radio? Like, how did that get on the radio, and how is this song not on the radio? But in Canada, are you getting any airplay over there at all, or?
Airplay on like college radio.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
that's where a lot of it starts.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we've done some interviews and had some playing across there. So there'll be new music coming out very, very soon. So hopefully I'll be doing a lot of touring. I think I'm coming your way actually this year.
We're gonna go to New York.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to go.
The producer that is producing my next song is in New York. So I was like, it would be rude not to come, I think.
For us not to come?
No, for me. Okay. Like working with a producer from New York. It would be rude if I didn't go to New York.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the plan.
That's
really
the plan
cool. Anyway.
Oh,
yeah, awesome. I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you'll be posting on Facebook or anything, or?
On all the things, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks, Lisette. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, cheers. And I'll see you around on the interwebs.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
To find out more about Lisette Xavier, just go to lisettexavier.com to check out her brilliant music. And of course, thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Coffee and UFOs. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode and more. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers in the next 3 months, so all of your support is absolutely appreciated. Thank you so much.